What's up, lawn care nuts? Thanks for coming back for yet another week. So as you can tell, I'm already sweating for the day. It's only 9:30 in the morning. I had to go out and mow Frankenstein. I'm gonna start a few projects there. Gonna work on getting the mowing height down there in Frankenstein, but that'll be another video another time. By the way, I do want to answer a quick question. A lot of you have asked me about the lawn boy there, and is it gonna replace my Toro? And the answer is no. So I am using it on Frankenstein out there, and also right here behind the fence at the backyard plug row. And that's just because it's a smaller mower and it maneuvers a lot easier and it's lighter, so I can yank it around in these confined spaces. But don't worry, my super recycler's coming back out here real soon. All right, so today we're gonna give our St. Augustine plug grow its first cut. We're also gonna go ahead and spray a little bit more weed control and reapply our pre-emergent. Now typically it's probably not the best idea to cut your lawn and spray weeds in the very same day. And that's really just because I don't wanna put any undue stress on the grass plant. Keep in mind, we are in the summer now and the temperatures get up into the 90s. And while this grass can handle it, very high temperatures still are not that great for it. And even though a weed control that we're using is considered to be safe for St. Augustine grass, it still does stress it. And then of course, as you know, the act of cutting the grass also stresses it. So we have 3 stressors there, and if we can eliminate one of those, that's a great idea. So ideally, I would have cut this lawn a few days ago on its first cut, and then gone ahead and treated the weeds today. But much like you guys, I have a day job too, and I can't be out here working on the lawn all day when I'm supposed to be earning money from my boss, so I am relegated to the weekends to get everything done. So the way we're gonna handle this is we're gonna go ahead and spray all the weeds and put it on our pre-emergent first, and we're gonna let it dry for a couple hours, and then we're gonna go ahead and cut the lawn, just to try to, again, minimize the stress. If I was to cut first, then that means the lawn is wide open and the weed control can literally get inside the grass blades a lot easier, and again, just cause a little bit more stress on it than is possible, and even give it some dieback. And that's one thing I gotta warn you about with Blindside. You really do need to be careful with it on St. Augustine, especially in the plug stage where things are still not quite 100% established. So you can see from our last weed control spray, you can see a bunch of dead weeds in there, right? You kind of see that? And then you can see over here where I kind of missed. So I'm gonna go ahead and need to touch this up, as well as there's a lot of new growth that's happening and coming in as well. I also wanted to show you that I'm gonna recommend on this application that we mix the Blindside at a little bit less than the recommended rate. We're gonna go ahead and mix it at a little lighter rate than what is recommended, and that's okay to do that. You can never go heavier, but you can definitely go lighter, and I'll show you why. So you can see I had sprayed weeds there, and you can see that they're dying or dead, right? But then if you look at this plug, it's also been damaged. Not just the runners. I mean, I knew we're gonna get some damage on the runners here, but look at some of these blades. See this? And that happened on a few of my plugs where I got just a little bit heavy-handed. And again, it's because Blindside really shouldn't be used on St. Augustine that's not 100% established. We're okay because we have plugs, but we just need to be careful. All right, so let's just take a quick drawing here. So this is typically how you're supposed to spray, knee level. When you're using a hand can, you want to keep the spray tip right about knee level. Your spray pattern then would be a little bit wider, right? Now, I know I'm spraying on my shoe here. This is not technically, you'd have a wider spray pattern, right? There's a little bit less concentrated material coming down on these weeds, and the mix rate is based on this kind of a standard. However, the way we're spraying is kind of like sniper, right? We're trying to get down really low because we're trying to avoid hitting some of our plugs that are kind of interspersed in here. So we're coming down lower so we can use a little bit more concentrated spray pattern. And in some cases, we're getting really, really sniper kind of effect, right? Really low. So while this is a great way to deliver and avoid our plugs, the thing it does though is it concentrates a lot more product closer down, so when you do get overspray onto your plugs, it can damage them because it's essentially an over application. See, look, here's another one. This one also got damaged, see? That's from over application of herbicide. So what we're gonna do when we spray today is we're just gonna be extra careful, as well as we're gonna mix at a little bit lower use rate. Now the pre-emergent you guys have used before, it's called Prodiamine, and we're gonna use that same one. There's really no cause for that to be worried about. Now there's another thing to talk about, and that's cutting height, mowing height, right? Typically St. Augustine should be mowed pretty high, definitely over 3 inches, and I'm gonna probably push mine to 3.5 or 4 once it gets healthy. You see, so there's one school of thought that says if you mow this plug lower, really low, then what that will do is it'll basically send a message here to the plug to say, hey, don't grow up, grow out. And the hope is that it'll then start sending out more runners more prolifically. And now with Bermuda, that's definitely true. Here I am in Frankenstein, and you can see that I've been cutting this a little bit tall because I have a rotary mower and it just doesn't do a good job on this grass type. One commenter was very passionate about telling me how wrong I was for not having a reel mower earlier. But if I did have a reel mower, I would be able to start cutting this really low. 3/4 inch is probably somewhere where I would go. And what that would do is it would encourage this grass to spread as long as I kept it mowed consistently at that 3/4 inch height. But there's one key difference, and that being that Bermuda can take a short cut when healthy. In fact, it does really well and thrives really well at a super short cut. And by the way, guys, yes, I'm gonna get a reel mower. I hate how leggy this gets when it gets long, but I'm just at where I'm at right now, okay? If one of you guys wants to send me a reel mower, please feel free to do so. You see, St. Augustine, it just can't take a low cut. It hurts it really bad. This is my backyard plug grow that many of you will remember I scalped the crap out of it accidentally a couple weeks ago, and it has still just not recovered. It's just lagging. It's just, bleh. It just can't move. I'm gonna hit it with some stuff here soon to help it kind of kick back up, but you can see, throw her down, that one time just scalping the crap out of it, it's really, really stunted it badly. Throw her down. So what I'm gonna end up doing here is kind of splitting the difference, and I'm gonna go at about 2 3/4 inches, probably closer to 3 inches, just to be careful. I'm gonna mow it as low as I can feel comfortable with, and I do think it will stimulate some of that runner growth, but I'm not gonna get as crazy with it as some of you might think. That is monster plug. Yes, you can grab those and grow them as sprigs, just like we did with the Bermuda. All right guys, so we're gonna use a familiar pre-emergent here, same one we used before, Prodiamine, and that comes in a water dispersible granule formulation. We've got a little bit of a range here we can use when it comes to application. The range is about 1/2 ounce per gallon, all the way up to 0.83 ounces per gallon, depending on your needs. We got a salad bar here still, so we're gonna go at the heavier end of the scale. And to make my math easy, I'm gonna use a 3/4 ounce per gallon rate. I'm using my Earthway sprayer here, and I'll link below in the description to the video I did where I brought out this sprayer and kind of introduced it to you guys. But I'm gonna go ahead and mix up 5 gallons today. So that means I'm gonna need 3.75 ounces of concentrate inside my sprayer. As always, I fill it about halfway first with clean water, then I put in my Prodiamine, and look at this really cool stir stick I invented. Again, you can do this application with a hand can. The key is to keep that wand at knee height and keep a really consistent application across the lawn. You really just simulate what my push sprayer is doing here. You're just doing it by hand. Now with Blindside, as you know, our mix rate is 0.15 ounces per gallon. I said I'm gonna back that down a little bit though, and I'm gonna go closer to 0.10 ounces per gallon. This is a very low use product, which is a great thing, so backing it down even that small amount is still a really good safe bet. Well, wouldn't work on that. Hole's not big enough. Now one of the things you can do here is going on the school of thought that the areas where you've had the most weed breakthrough are probably the areas where the most weed seeds exist. So what you can do to hedge your bets a little bit on future outbreaks is spike this hand can mix with a little bit of Prodiamine on top. That's okay to mix the two together. However, we're going to use the Prodiamine at the very lowest use rate, which is 0.4 ounces per gallon. I'll tell you, that was about as exciting as eating bland food. I want you to imagine that you're really hungry. You haven't eaten in days, or in this case, weeks. But the food that's gonna quench your hunger is right in front of you for weeks at a time, and you can see it being prepared. And you know that soon you're gonna get to eat. And as the time gets closer for you to eat, you get hungrier and hungrier, and the anticipation grows until finally the day comes when you get to sit down and eat that meal. And then when you eat it, it's tasteless. That's pretty much how I felt mowing this kind of sort of pseudo lawn. But I will say though, overall, it does look better now that it's been mowed at least. At least it's not completely hairy and choppy. Lastly, we've got some watering instructions. Now the pre-emergent's gotta be watered in, but the weed control needs to be let set for, you know, at least 12 hours, but really ideally would be 24. So I applied really early in the morning, and then I just cut now that it's early afternoon. So I'm gonna go ahead and water tomorrow morning around 9:30 a.m., which will be a good, you know, 22, 23 hours to let the weed control sit in, but it isn't too long to have the pre-emergent sitting in the sun. Because as you may or may not know, that pre-emergent, if it's not watered in, it will degrade in the sun pretty quickly. So there we go, guys. If you're following along with me, the key at this point is to keep plugging along. But seriously though, you really do. You've got to keep the faith. This is that time when you get to the point where you start getting frustrated and you want to give up, but you can't do that. You got to keep irrigating, you got to keep spraying weeds, you got to keep your eyes open, you got to keep picking when you can, and it's gonna grow in. You got to have faith in that. So with that, I'm gonna go here and get cleaned up. I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. I hope this tip has helped you. Please subscribe to the channel, and as always, I will see you in the lawn.